Coming up, what an excellent day for the hero moment. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to Minute 120 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate The Exorcist, minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Keenan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with Marin beginning the Lord's Prayer.
And it ends with the doorbell ringing.
Now, who could it be at this time of the movie? We'll have to wait and see. Well, no, we won't see in this minute because that's the end. But I do have stuff to say about the doorbell as a device. Not as a device. I mean, I know it's an actual device. I mean a device for the story.
No, but I've got things about it as an actual device. You don't want to hear any of this?
Is this another like bamboo forest of doorbells?
No, I would know. So the doorbell, the first doorbell we know about, is from 1817.
Wait, hang on. Let's cue the music. Hang on. Okay.
All right, so the first doorbell we know about is from 1817 in Birmingham, England. It's by a Scottish inventor, named William Murdoch. And right, there have always been doors outside of houses that you would ring, right, with a pulley system. But his used a series of compressed air going through pipes to blast the noise all throughout the house.
What?
Yeah. So it was something that was actually a sound system throughout the house. You could hear it no matter where you were.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm. And this has been the history of doorbells.
Yes, folks. Ding dong.
Who is it?
Knowledge.
Oh, come on in. We weren't expecting you on this show.
No. Been a bit of a stranger around these parts. But, okay, back to this doorbell. Turns out it's actually a pretty divisive device. But we'll get to that in the next minute.
All right.
For now, let's get back to the top of this minute. We're back in that room. It's cold and ominous. Remember, Marin had just knelt down and looked around at this cold, empty room with what I thought was a heartbreaking look, and which I still say doesn't get talked about enough. It's a look of goodbye. This whole movie, from the very start, Marin has been in the process of saying his goodbyes. And one thing I noticed in this viewing is that he is specifically saying goodbye to the material world. This is different from him interacting with people. That's a whole other thing. He doesn't say goodbye to people, and I think that's because of his faith. I think he loves and cherishes them as fellow humans, but his faith is that they will continue, and he will continue, so there's no need for goodbye. All of his goodbyes are to this world, and they are private. He is alone and just taking in the simple beauty of creation, whether that be him walking in the woods that one autumn morning right before he received the call, or here, just looking around at this room. He is saying goodbye to dimensions, to walls, to houses, to coffee with brandy. I think he's saying goodbye to all these little things, all of these material things, to matter, which in the book he had once theorized was somehow more deeply connected to God than people think. And whether he thinks that now or whether the movie Marin ever thought that, I think he is looking around this room in his final moments, like maybe wondering if he appreciated God's creation enough with what little time he had, whether someone could ever appreciate life and being alive enough before it's time to go. I don't think I'm explaining it properly. Just this appreciation for the little things, the little joys, the everyday beauties of being alive. There's actually a part in the book that touches on this a little bit better. It's a little further ahead. I'm just going to read this little poem that Karis remembers. So he's looking at a sunset, and this poem that he once loved comes back to him, and it's "Glory be to God for dappled things, for skies of couple color as a brindled cow, for rose moles all in stipple upon trout that swim, fresh fire coal chestnut falls, finch's wings. He fathers forth whose beauty is past change. Praise him." And then a little bit further down, Dimmy also remembers part of a psalm. Quote, "O Lord, I have loved the beauty of thy house." End quote. So yeah, and I think that's what this is, right? The beauty of thy house. Marin is saying goodbye to his earthly home, his home here on earth. And he's looking at it and he's appreciating all of it.
That's really interesting. I think all that's there in this brief moment you have here where, he's looking up in the movie and looking around at things. And even if you don't read it like Lester's saying that he's saying goodbye, it is this really interesting, sweet, very Christ-like moment where, okay, here we are going into battle, but going into battle as we might think of it isn't putting on armor and getting ready to fight. It's like sitting here and being here presently with this person.
Yeah.
And so it's very Christ-like, very Christian. It is very much like being grateful even to be here in battle with this person, if that makes sense, right?
Right.
I'm just so glad we're here together, right?
I like the alternative is not being,
right?
Yeah, and so like the fact that he's here, even in this, and that's the thing that I keep on getting hung up on, Keenan, and trying to explain. Like yes, this room is dismal. This room, contains suffering and the echoes of pain, and there's a literal demon in here. But he's looking around it. But this is also a room. This is also a home. This is also like a little girl's bedroom. This little girl who is loved, who has a mother downstairs, who wants her to be okay. This is all of the right things in the world. This house and this bedroom, these walls, these protective walls, and this is him appreciating that.
But yeah, again, in the Sermon on the Mount, right, Christ talking about presenting the other cheek to your enemy, right? And yeah, when you say it, when you think of it out of context, right, it's like people can read the scriptures however they want to. I'm not telling them how to read it, but you often hear about that turning the other cheek, like, hey, you beat me up, and I'm going to show you my other cheek, is a sense of defiance.
Right. Is that all you got?
Yeah, is that all you got? And like, be strong, etc. But that's not in context what it's about, because it's in the same paragraph as if anyone would want to take your tunic, give them your cloak as well, right? If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles, right? It's like being there with your enemy, right? Do not resist the one who is evil. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also, right? Like it is a blessing to be here with your enemy, with Pazuzu, who or Captain Howdy, or whoever he is, right? This person, this entity that has beguiled me and almost destroyed me. This is my enemy, but I do not hate him.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And it makes me think about like the sort of double or triple meaning of the word compel, right? It's like I always thought from this movie, because this was the first instance that I heard this word, I thought it meant what repel means. Like I thought like the power of Christ compels you. It's like pushes you away, get out of here, expels you, right? And then later on I learned about the other meaning of, something that is compelling kind of draws you in, brings you closer, you're intrigued. Oh, that's a very compelling idea. That's a very compelling piece of art, right? But then also ultimately it being something that you can't control. Like, I am compelled to do this, right? I am in this room with this person, with this little girl, with this demon, and we are compelled to play this out, right? He has a part to play. I have a part to play. We are being moved and inspired to do this.
This just occurred to me, right? So Howdy says, "What an excellent day for an exorcism." But he says it to Karis here, and it upsets Karis a little bit. Karis tries to play it off, but if Howdy said, "What an excellent day for an exorcism" to Marin might say, "Yes, you are so right. This is an excellent day for an exorcism."
Oh my God, you're blowing my mind right now, Keenan. Because Karis's first intuition would be to combat that. It's like, oh, what do you mean by that? I'm gonna analyze that. It's like, oh, won't that drive you out?
Right.
You and Reagan, da da da. But he's like, no, you like. We both know exactly what we're talking about,
right,
with him and Marin. Wow. But yeah, so folks, yeah, I didn't want to move past. This was in the last minute. This isn't even our minute yet. It was in the last minute when he does that look. But I can't stop talking about it. Yeah. But yeah, so after that brief look, he is back to the task at hand. He looks at Reagan, at this little girl he has decided to give his life for, and he begins saying the Lord's Prayer. We're behind Marin now as he reaches out and clasps Reagan's small hand in his large one as he says, "Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." And I guess this is the moment you were talking about, Keenan, like where he clasps someone's hand one more time.
Yeah, and it is so, it's surprising, isn't it? Almost shocking to see that, because you want to be fighting this thing, and because it's, if he believes that Reagan is totally under the power of this demon, the handhold isn't for Reagan, right? Is it for the demon?
I always read it as being for Reagan. I think he's like we're gonna get through this. Like just hold on to me. Like this is something that you can, because Howdy's probably filling up all of her consciousness right now. So he's like be conscious of this. Like hold on to this touch from another human being.
Right. I don't know if she's there, right? So maybe he doesn't know he's there. But that's I guess my point. Maybe it's beyond our understanding. Maybe it's here we are, demon, here's a little handhold. But whatever it is, it's compassionate.
Yeah. Drawing, either Reagan or Captain Howdy in. It's like, this is, let's finish this.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. From here, we cut to an extreme close-up of Dimmy in profile, hands clasped and head bowed, as if also in prayer. And I like how we cut from Marin praying while clasping Reagan's hand to Dimmy in the pose of someone praying. But with him, I'm not sure. We know he believes, but he might be caught up in his own thoughts again. Thoughts about worthiness, thoughts about how he had lost control up there. Keenan, what do you think about Dimmy right here? What's he doing? Like, is this prayer? Is he dwelling on what he did wrong? Is he thinking about Mama?
This is interesting, right? So in the Friedkin version, he doesn't think of these poems and this niceness of the material world and God's abode, right? I think he has to be dwelling, right? In the Friedkin version of it, I don't think he's thinking about any positive memories at all. It certainly looks like he's just, God, I really made these terrible mistakes, right? So Blatty can have inner monologues where, even as all this terrible stuff is going around, we can remember positive days. I don't think that happens in a Friedkin movie. And there's even, we were talking about this with Alex Bledsoe, our buddy who came around, like in Friedkin's version and other movies like The French Connection or Sorcerer, right? There's a lack of heroism, right? There's even a lack of sexuality that we hadn't quite talked about. Like there's not like girlfriends or love interests. We even cut some things in the book, right, about Sharon potentially being attracted to Karis, even in the fleeting
Damien,
moment.
yeah.
There's no even sexuality in the movie at all.
Right. We had to make up a boyfriend for Sharon.
That's right. That's right.
Just so somebody's having a good time in here.
Somebody, yeah. Or something. Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's anything but doubt and guilt on this shot here of Damien. Yeah.
Yeah. And remember, folks, Dimmy is down here because he hadn't been able to keep it together when Howdy had started speaking in his mother's voice. So Marin had told him to get out. And in the movie, we don't know if that means go take a break or you're out for good. Either way, Dimmy is down here and it looks like he's praying. In the background, we hear the ticking of a clock. Right. And from here, we cut and we see that we are downstairs in the hall. And I want to say how effective it is whenever we transition out of that room, out of Reagan's room. It happened in the moment on the stairs as well, where we cut from a moment of quote-unquote quiet in the room to somewhere else in the house, and we realize that even in those moments of calm in that room, there is an ominous underlying tone to that room that we maybe don't notice when we're in there. But as soon as you cut away, you feel it as if a weight has been lifted.
Now, this is that shot that I was talking about in a couple of minutes ago. Like, this is the hall. We've seen the hall. We've seen this clock. We're near the front door. We've seen the front door. We are looking at the hall, I guess, in a way that we've never looked at it before. I guess in the party, the senator and his wife are here, but we don't have all this foreground of this little other hall with this other clock in there. Like just when we think that we're running out, like in 12 Angry Men, just like we think we're running out of ways to shoot this freaking house, right? We have new ways to do it. I mean, this is just really masterful stuff. The more that we look at it, I always had an appreciation, I thought, for Friedkin and Roisman, but we don't feel like, we're going back to standard coverage of this room or that room.
Yeah, it's been so fun watching this movie, examining it closely, and realizing, because I did not realize this when watching it casually. Like, it's like, oh, this is the same room. Keenan, this is the same room where Burke is like, there seems to be an alien pubic hair.
Exactly,
he's sitting in that chair where Burke was sitting when he was talking about the alien pubic hair. Right.
But we didn't see in that angle, the stuff in the foreground. We didn't see the door to Daddy's room / the door down into the basement, right? And we certainly have never seen it with two clocks, framing Damien at the same time.
I was gonna mention the other clock. I'm glad you spotted it too. I'm glad you clocked it.
Is it time for us to mention that clock?
Oh, Jesus!
Or is it something you don't want to face?
You
can't quite put your hand on it.
Dang it. I was going to say, well, give me a second or maybe a minute. So now we are in the hall, and it is actually quiet and peaceful with just the ticking of one of those clocks. Although, the clock at this stage of the movie could also be ominous, like we're running out of time. But to me, this one doesn't feel that way. How do you actually, which clock is making the noise?
I don't know, and I was trying to read what time it is. I was also I can't quite see either of these faces, right?
I think it's the one that we're closer to. I think it's the one in the entryway, the big grandfather one.
Okay.
Because I think that little one, that one's not going to make a big ticking sound like this one's making, So I think it's the one in the entryway, the big grandfather clock.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, so far, I have never felt a sense of unease when the clock is ticking
right.
in this movie, right? Which you would think that's kind of like, shorthand for like, oh, time is running out. Be tense, be, worried about it, know. But no, it's like we have cut from that room where time doesn't exist. And now we're here and time is back and it's just ticking, and this is the world that makes sense. It is quietly ticking in the background. It is peaceful, and I don't feel scared by the ticking of this clock.
Mm-hmm. Well, similar to that, there is... So, things have gone off the rails in the third act in regards to like the adaptation and the screenplay,
Right.
etc. So things are all over the place, which is neither good nor bad. But something that seems to have changed from this draft that we have from December of 72 is that Marin kicks Damien out and the demon says, "You will lose." The time for that scene, according to Blatty in this screenplay, is sunrise. Exterior sunrise shot at the house across the Potomac. So he wants us to know that. So then by the time we get to a version of this scene where Chris comes in and catches Damien resting or stealing himself or wallowing in his own guilt, it is interior MacNeil house kitchen, late day. Yeah, so Karis comes in and wanders in while Chris is at the breakfast nook. So again, it's like, I'm not sure how we benefit from that, right? We're going through adaptations, and we're second guessing all of this, but Blatty wants us to go through another day-night cycle. By the end of the movie, we're going to end up, within the next scene, we're going to end up back at night. So he's going to cut us a little while in. We're going to spring forward in a little bit, but he wants these scenes in the morning, which just has a different sort of feeling, right? Like, so there's the I've been up all night, and I'm thinking versus like, oh, it's the middle of the night, and I'm thinking it's the dark night of the soul.
It's the darkest hour, yeah.
Right, yeah. So again, I don't know, Blatty maybe in his like, let's be nicer to these people sort of feeling, right? Even though this is the guy who comes up with the idea of The Exorcist and how terrible it is to people, like he seems to be taking pity on the characters more than Friedkin does.
Yeah. That was what Alex said, wasn't it? It is like Blatty loves people.
Blatty loves
that's
people,
kind of like,
right.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Right.
But I'm a little bit confused. So you're saying, so in the screenplay, this is happening late in the day.
Late day. So it's during Chris's breakfast time. And when Karis comes downstairs and is like, oh, you're down here, you're having breakfast. And Chris is like, there's coffee here for you already.
So then does the falling down the stairs happen in the day or the night?
No, in the nighttime, luckily. So, like by the very next scene where someone or somewhere rings the door, it is nighttime.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. In the screenplay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
It is night because we have someone saying, "Look, I'm sorry to disturb you this hour of the night," etc.
Terrible bother. Terrible.
Right. It's impossible to guess who that might be.
Who could it possibly be? That's so like Keenan. Lately, I am finding myself team movie on certain things, like time of day and how they're executing some of these things. I didn't think that I would convert.
Traitor, you're a heretic.
I'm a heretic. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you were talking about how you can read in the book that the demon is changing faces,
right?
But you don't feel it as you're reading the book. You just ignore that. You just move past that, right?
And I certainly don't want to see it on the film. That would look...
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're going to execute these things and film becomes literal, right? I'm sure even Blatty was like, yeah, of course, you're right. Because otherwise he could have fought to have those things happen. Right,
yeah.
Like, no, it needs to be a daytime scene. We need to go through another day, right? So the exorcism in the screenplay at least takes place over 2 days. Or 2 nights at least, right? It gets a whole 24-hour period. And so in the movie, no, it's 1 night.
Yeah.
That's just better for movies, not better or worse for books, but better for movies.
Yeah. But yeah, so we got this shot of the hall. Dimmy is sitting in, would you call that a love seat?
Well, Blatty would call it a love seat, but Friedkin would make it a platonic seat.
Hey Billy, what's this thing called? It's not a chair. It's not a couch. It's a flying fuck through a rolling donut.
Right. Just a place to put your ass. What are we talking about?
Get in the shot. You're moody. You're sad.
All right. Nobody loves you, and also think about what your character's going through.
Oh, Billy. But yeah, so I'm going to call it a love seat, I think.
Okay, I think so.
Yeah, there we go. So he's got his head bowed, his hands clasped as if in prayer. We can't see his face, but we can see pretty much the entire hall because we're looking from the entry near the front door, and we can see that other clock there. It looks like the entry is dark. I don't see any lights, and that contrasts with how well the hall is lit up. It is very clear and white, which makes Dimmy stand out even more with his black clothes and his black hair. He's like a shadow himself. I think this shot could also be a pretty good painting.
Oh, yeah, it's got good use of foreground, middle ground, background. It's lovely, yeah. And again, thinking about it is interior, but we sort of know it's night, right? Like we're not allowing Blatty his predilection to make it daytime or anything like that.
Right.
So yeah, it's bright, but it still feels like night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is our
That's really weird. Like that you can tell, like even though there's no windows or anything like that, you can tell if a room, like if you're seeing a room at night, you know?
Yeah, well, cinematographers use different color temperatures for day or night, even if they're interiors. So we're able to keep track of that. So I'm trying to find a shot where, just so I could look at it as I'm talking about it, that is daylight in that same space. Yeah, so what I found is like Sharon coming in and bringing in the doctors, Dr. Tanny and Dr. Klein, right? And so, yeah, everything's closed, but we have, the light is sort of softer, like sunlight might be. The color is a little bit more, slightly more orange, etc. Yeah, so just little tweaks they can do to do that.
Oh, very cool.
That's a little bit beyond my my pay grade, but a cinematographer will keep those things in mind. Yeah, the different color temperatures that stand in for daylight, fluorescent, incandescent lights. They all sort of have different feelings to them.
Oh, I love that! Like all the like tiny little things that are going on without us even noticing. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's complicated making a movie.
Yeah, who'd have thought? But yeah, so as we're watching Dimmy, Chris emerges from Daddy's room. And it's interesting how the first movement we see is her shadow. And then we see her. And where Dimmy stands out stark against this white hall, or looks like a shadow in it, Chris sort of seems to blend into that doorway. She's got these shades of red and burgundy, and then her hair also, obviously. When she emerges, Dimmy puts his clasped hands down on his knees, and he looks up, and there's a beat where they sort of regard each other. Then we cut. And again, it's not quite an over-the-shoulder shot, but it would be if Dimmy were facing her. We're looking up at her, and yeah, she's got this red checkered shirt on under what looks like a burgundy cardigan. What do we make of this costume change? Like, is this signifying something? Like I said, it looks very Daddy's room, but could there be anything else here?
I don't know. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it. You keep describing it. It's like Bishop Michael's chocolatey office. It's just so delicious looking. No, I don't have anything there. What are you thinking? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Like the only things I can think of don't really match with what I expect the shot to be telling us. Like it's a very masculine shirt with these checkers, this checker pattern, like almost like some kind of like plaid, thing, like she has become Daddy, and she just came from Daddy's room. But that doesn't jive with what's going on like right now, right here.
Yeah, I guess so. This is the last we're gonna see Chris until 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 things happen. So yeah, this is our last sort of statement, I suppose, with Chris's costume.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, what could red possibly mean? Because I'm thinking it's like if this were me, and I'm like. Again, I'm just being very, very simple here. I would put her in shades of black.
But maybe it's for later when when all the fathers are gone, Lester.
Okay.
And then she's daddy.
Now she's daddy.
Right.
She
right.
she finally got it.
She had a bunch of temporary fathers in the house taking care of things, and then she's daddy. So I don't know, that's tough. That's the thing you have to balance when you're looking at your costume design, because yes, it's for this scene and that moment, etc. But yeah, maybe it's more for the next time we see Chris.
Yeah, folks, let us know, because this one has me stumped. This choice of like all these reds and these burgundies for Chris right now in this moment. Yeah. It's like maybe her heart is bleeding. I don't know.
I think she's suitably somber in it, so it's not black, but it still is. You wouldn't wear it to a funeral necessarily, but it is still still serious, I suppose.
Yeah,
it's not Brady Bunch bright colors.
No, definitely not. In any case, she has this expression. I don't know how to describe it. Her eyes are very intense at first, but it's not the same as when she was trying to convince people or get them all on the same page. That's over. That's done. She and Dimmy are finally in lockstep in these final moments. She doesn't have to work in that way anymore. But her look is still very intense. I think because they are so close now that him being down here means one of two things. Maybe only one thing.
Okay.
And so she asks, is it over? And she does it very carefully, because that's only half of the question that she wants to ask. And I wonder which answer she's hoping for right now, because if he says yes, what does it mean that she found him sitting out here in the hall in this despairing pose? If yes, why didn't he immediately find her and tell her? Why isn't Reagan running into her arms? All better. What does yes mean if none of these things are happening? And Karras answers, not with a yes or a no. He sort of shakes his head and he makes this noise. It's not even a full It's not even that. It's more just like like that. Which, what do we think of this? From a writing standpoint, I kind of like that this answer doesn't steal the thunder of his next answer. But as a response, how would you feel as Chris? Like, I keep switching. And I think it's depending on which of those questions he's answering. His tone and the way that he shakes his head makes it seem like she asked a silly question, right? But which question? Is that noise that he makes an indicator of like, oh, no, don't worry, it's not over. Your daughter's not dead. Or is it, oh, no, it's not over. We still got a long way to go.
Right, but either of those is not satisfactory to Chris, I suppose.
Right.
Probably feels callous to Chris either way, right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of answers that that Dr. Tanny and Dr. Klein and Dr. Behringer
and Foundation.
Thank you. That they would give her, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, what else do you want? Lady, like, we're doing everything. This is what we have. These are the answers we have. What else do you want? She's like, I want this to be done. I want movement here. I want things to
an actual goddamn answer, not, not like, well, it's not this thing. Is it over? It's not over.
Right, but Chris, we've talked about this a little bit. We don't have a scene, at least, where they explain to Chris that this could take months.
Right.
So I wonder what they have told her, if anything at all.
Yeah. I mean, for all we know, like in the world of this story, like that's not even a thing, even for them, for us.
Yes. Right.
Right. Like I didn't even know about exorcisms taking months until reading the book. right?
Well, I guess there's a little bit of that with Father Birmingham and Bishop Michael, a little bit. It's sort
Right.
of
Okay.
hinted at,
Yes.
yeah. But they don't they never mention this could be this way. So maybe you're like, oh, the ones in far off places that the missionaries do, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, the foreign missions, it could last for months, but that never ever comes up with Reagan.
No. No. But yeah. So Dimmy has answered her somewhat, right? Just by going, like that. And so I watched Chris's reaction here. I wanted to see how this landed. And part of me thinks I see relief on her face, in her actions. He turns away, breaking their gaze, and her eyes do this frantic calculation, like, well, if it's not over, then she's still alive, so there's still hope. Her hands also begin to like twist that tissue that she's been holding this whole time, and you can see her shoulders sag as if she's been holding her breath, and now she can finally let it out. But at the same time, I also see when he turns away, she has this expression like, are you kidding me? Still? It's still not over? And then the eyes do that frantic calculation, maybe thinking of Reagan's vitals, maybe thinking of her condition and how she probably doesn't have much longer. And so then that exhalation could be a sigh, like, I have to ask this next question now. And so she does. And it's heartbreaking because you feel this mother's hesitancy to even utter this question, to put it out into the world, almost like by saying it will make it a possibility. And so, yeah, we see her look down at that tissue and her face screws up as if she's going to cry, but then she swallows, and you see this resolve, which I absolutely love. It's such a small detail, but it's such a Chris detail. And she asks, is she going to die? And once it's out, she looks back up to see his reaction, maybe to catch his answer before he says it, if that makes sense. Right? Like to catch a little twitch, a little, a sag of the shoulders for himself or something like that, right?
Like she'll be able to catch him betraying his mask.
Exactly, right? Like, oh, he's about to tell me a lie, right?
Yeah.
No, she's not going to die. Yeah, like something like that, right?
Right.
Yeah,
but instead, we kind of get a response where it seems like he hasn't thought of it before.
Right, yes, and I love that, right? We cut to a close-up of Dimmy, and there's a pause, and he turns, and it's as if the idea has just struck him, as if her asking it is the first time that he's thought of it. And folks, this has got to be one of my favorite moments in the whole film. This is not in the book. We're going to get to what the book has here in the next minute. But I'm going to say right now, this is the better thing to have here, I think. Our buddy Alex Bledsoe said this is the moment that Dimmy becomes the hero, and I agree. I also think this is when that second demon is vanquished. Remember, the first one was, is God real? And that one was taken care of in that room with Marin's help. But the deeper one, the older one, am I worthy? That one has been possessing him for a long time. And I love how in answering Chris, he finally lays that other question, that other demon, to rest. And the way he does this is so perfect and so characteristic of Dimmy. The way that he answers the question of, am I worthy, is that he stops asking it. It is no longer relevant. It doesn't matter. What matters is saving this girl. And that has been Dimmy's thing this whole time. He is so wrapped up in wondering whether or not he's good that he doesn't see his own goodness. And throughout the movie and the book, we see him brooding in his own hell. We see him questioning himself. But as soon as someone is in need, he puts that aside. He steps out of hell and he helps them. And This right here is the final straw. At the beginning of the scene, he was in hell again. He was thinking about how he failed up there, lost in all of his familiar dark thoughts. And the thing that brought him out of it wasn't someone asking him, hey, are you okay? That wouldn't work. It never has. The thing that brings him out is this mother's plea. Someone is in need. And as he turns his head to her and says, no, you can almost hear the gates clang shut as he walks out of hell for the last time. He no longer cares whether he is worthy or not. He is going to save this girl.
So this is this hero transference that Alex Bledsoe was talking about, right? They've switched places. So, I mean, at the risk of making this sound cheesier or more obvious, right? I mean, this is the moment when literally, Marin has died at this literal moment. What do you think?
I didn't think of that until you started saying it just now.
Right.
And I don't know if I like that or I don't. I mean, like, my first inclination is like, ooh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. But it implies this sort of cosmic niceties that, again, is more Blatty than Friedkin, right? It implies that everything is happening for a reason. And it's a nicer answer that Marin passes away and something in that gives Karis the strength, right?
Yes, yeah. Like it was written in the stars. Like we're following this track, right?
Right. But if that's not literally happening, I mean, if Karis were to survive, or let's say Chris, once they're piecing it back together, what's happened, she might say something like that, right? Father Marin was literally dying when we were having that conversation.
Yeah.
Whether that's true or not.
Right. And she can reflect on how it's like, and that's when this man I first met, like, changed, and he became the Exorcist. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And because maybe if I don't want to pick on Blatty in this respect, but if Blatty were directing it, right, he becomes a director later on. He might have that inclination to cut back and forth and show us that happening.
Right. Yeah. You're talking about almost like a Godfather baptism murder situation.
Yes, there's a little bit of that in Legion, the movie, Exorcist.
Right.
There's a little bit of that, of cutting back and forth and doing this parallel action thing and showing these things happening simultaneously.
Yeah. I like that it can just be our headcanon. That
right.
This is when Marin gives up the ghost and simultaneously Dimmy is filled with this Holy Spirit.
Right.
Yeah. But so we cut back and the camera follows a little as Dimmy turns from Chris and looks up to the room, up to God. And there's a moment where he seems to steel himself, and then he rises to his feet. His body takes up most of the screen. Again, that familiar, lonely black cloud. But the camera stays on this shot as he moves out of frame, taking that darkness with him, leaving it unblemished, with Chris now looking after him. What do we see in her face here, Keenan? I see hope and also a little bit of fear, but also gratitude and admiration and awe.
I see all those things that you're mentioning, but I'm catching myself in a pattern of, in the past couple of times you've asked me that, I've also seen guilt and shame. So maybe that's just me projecting that, right? Of like, good. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for saying no. My daughter's not going to die. I'm a little even embarrassed that I asked that out loud, because of course you have it. Of course, yes, we're going to do this together, but just a tiny bit, 8% of it is embarrassment for me, but that just might be the Keenan paradigm.
Like she was the one who had the thought and not him.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Like my faith is bad because I'm the one who asked this question.
I had to ask it, right? I wouldn't have to ask it if if there wasn't some sort of possibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know this James Cameron Schwarzenegger movie, True Lies?
yeah.
Okay. Well,
with Deirdre Bobidra and
Deirdre Bobidra, yes,
yeah.
of course. Yeah. Yeah, so Schwarzenegger is Harry, and Jamie Lee Curtis is not Deirdre. Jamie Lee Curtis is Helen. And so Helen eventually goes on adventures with him. It's her first time, fighting terrorists with him, and they give him a truth serum, right? And he's like, I don't know if it's working. Asking me a question, and she says, "Are we gonna die?" And he says, "Uh-huh." Right, but maybe part of the question, my point in bringing that up is maybe part of the asking the question is like, hey, reassure me,
exactly,
tell me the truth or lie to me, like whatever, just reassure me. I'm having these feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
So how would you feel like of all the possible answers, right? You're Chris, and Demi answers in this way that we have in the movie. How would you feel?
Yeah, embarrassed, shameful, because that's the Keenan thing, right? That I had to ask it, that I'm like putting it on him. Like, what, you have a job to do, and here I am just sitting in Daddy's room, getting in your way. So that's my take on it.
I would feel, I like this, the way that he says no fills me, the audience member, with relief. I'm like, oh, okay, like he's got, like he may not know what's up there right now, but one thing's for sure, she is not going to die.
Yeah.
And that actually, that makes me feel safe. It makes me relieved, like just the way that he says no.
Yeah, I think, exactly. I think like him, again, he's thought that he has literally been worried about her vitals and stuff like that, right? But the question so takes him aback here that's part of what is relieving to her, right? It's like where he's like, I can't imagine why you would ask that. I can't believe you asked that question, right? Like it just hadn't occurred to me. Like that comes to her as a relief, right?
Yeah. But okay, but see, now I'm a little bit confused because you're saying that like he's almost a little bit incredulous at her asking.
Not incredulous, but like, oh wow, like that he hadn't come down here and like reassured her that she's going to survive or anything. He hadn't even thought to, so she's been stewing in Daddy's room or the basement or something, right? Thinking about, oh, is he dead? Is she dead? And she comes out here and she's like, why aren't you checking in with me? And then he's like, oh, I haven't even been checking in with you because no, it's not as bad as that. She's not going to die. We're not going to let that happen.
Yeah. But I also like to think that he was in doubt until the asking of the question.
Yeah, it sort of focuses it for him.
He realizes the answer as soon as she asks it. I like because otherwise there is no like tension. There's like, it's like, oh no, she's not gonna. What do you do?
No, I don't mean it that far of it at all.
Okay,
right?
okay.
But he's so, her asking the question makes him realize that that's not something he has been truly worried about. Like that he is in control of the situation. I think I'm agreeing with you, and you don't think I'm agreeing. That's fine.
Well, I kind of like him worrying until like it's like, oh, it's like, who can say? I feel like his internal monologue is, oh, who can say if she's going to live or die? And then he realizes, wait, who can say? I can say.
I can.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We don't have to agree, but I think we are.
No, Keenan, we do have to agree. We examine, extrapolate, and excavate.
We don't agree, and that we could still be friends.
We haven't even met each other yet, Keenan.
One of these days, we're gonna go and see
right to the moon. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah. Okay. We're back on the first shot of this scene, looking at the whole hall from the darkened entry. Chris stands there, still in that pose, straight-backed, with her hands clasped in front of her. She's between the two clocks, and I don't know why, but she kind of looks like a clock herself. One that is... Okay, I'm not crazy. Thank you. I was like,
no,
I was writing that this morning, and I was like, that is a stupid thing to say, Lester.
Chris MacNeil equal clock.
Yeah.
You wrote that on your hand. You're going for your run, and you're like, dare I even commit that to paper?
I'm just looking at this as like, she looks like there's a clock on her right and there's a clock on her left, and she looks like a clock.
You're absolutely right. She looks like one of the clocks.
How? Explain to me. I agree. I agree with you.
You agree with your own idea.
Yes. But justify, prove my idea is right to me.
She's one of the three vertical elements, and then her face is bright, and she's in this burgundy, dark brown chocolate suit that you were talking about, and she looks like the wood of the clocks.
Okay.
Yeah, she looks like a clock.
All right. I am pretty smart, turns out.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to if you took out these two clocks and if you photoshopped them out,
yes,
and showed them to somebody, this shot to somebody, and you're like, doesn't she look like a clock? Then you would be insane.
Yes.
She looks like a clock because she's matching the other two clocks in this shot.
Okay. All right. Thank God. I was like, is this the episode where I put something out there into the ether and then there's just silence, and then Keenan is like, what the fuck are you talking about, Lester?
I have friends who listen to this.
Yeah.
Chris looks like a clock.
It's the end of the show. We're not doing this anymore. And then people in the listener group was like, what happened? Well, this episode didn't air, so Keenan's going to come on and he's going to be like, my co-host, and he's going to put that in parentheses.
Right.
Or quotation marks, said that Chris MacNeil looked like a clock. And then everyone in the listener group is going to be like, oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
And they're all going to leave en masse.
Who was this person who I was trying to be friends with?
Oh.
Who I'd never met? You think you know somebody over the internet, and then it turns out that they think Ellen Burstyn looks like a clock. Yeah. You just have to be careful out there, everybody.
Yeah. Don't say what's on your mind. Don't speak your truth because you'll just look stupid.
For God's sake.
Yeah. Keep that inside.
Deep inside.
Deep inside. And then when somebody else speaks that same truth that you had been keeping inside and they get praised for it.
Right.
Say they work for the Illuminati.
Right. Because lizard people famously see human faces as clocks.
What are you talking about? I am a human. I have a brother. He's about 430 years old. PM. Oh, that was a close one.
Right. My mother hatched me in daylight saving time. Like similar humans of my brood.
Yes. Anyway, about these human sports teams. But yeah, anyway, so I was saying that Chris looks like a clock.
Right?
Okay. And I will further my argument by saying that she looks like one that is waiting, that is counting the seconds, counting the minutes.
Right.
There we go. Yeah. Now, we don't see Dimmy at first in this new shot, but then he emerges at the bottom of the stairs and he begins to climb, begins to ascend one final time, silently, deliberately, not hesitating, but also not rushing.
Right.
Chris follows his ascent, and just before he disappears, the doorbell rings. 2 rings, jarring and urgent. Chris looks at the door, but Dimmy continues as if he hadn't heard. Who could this visitor be, and why now? We'll have to wait until the next minute to find out. for now, that is all of my notes. Keenan, is there anything else?
Do you know the story of the Viper?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Wait, is it better that I don't know or that I do know?
You
for
do
this
know
joke?
The story of the Viper.
I do know
right?
the Viper, yes.
So the Viper...
Uh-huh.
The Viper
But tell it to me anyway.
So Chris gets a story. Chris will play our lady in the Viper.
I love this. Okay.
So Chris gets a phone call, and someone on the other line of the phone, let's say Carl, plays the Viper.
Oh, he's perfect. Perfect.
Right. I am coming at 10 p.m. Who is this? The Viper. Don't come. Oh my God, how crazy. The 88 calls from this Viper telling me it's going to come for me at 10 p.m. So the next day, or later that day, the phone rings again, and she picks it. Who is this? It is the Viper. I'm reminding you I will be there at 10 p.m. No, don't you dare call this place again. And it hangs up, right? So then at 10 p.m. comes and Chris is waiting there. She's waiting so hard that she's become a clock. Right? She's waiting there. And she has all this other stuff going on.
Uh-huh.
Right? She's got laundry downstairs because her daughter is very sick. And upstairs she's got 2 priests and 88 doctors taking care of her little girl, and the doorbell rings, and she's so terrified, and she goes over to the front door very slowly, and she's horrified. She slowly opens it, and it's Carl as the Viper. He says, "I am the Viper. I have come to wipe the windows." Sorry, I had trouble getting the punchline out.
Folks, this is one of those rare occasions where knowing the punchline
it's an ancient joke.
Actually makes this better.
Mesopotamian joke.
Oh yeah, Pazuzu's always like, and then he shows up at the door.
Right.
I'm the Viper.
This story was old when I was a baby. This joke.
Yeah. But yeah, folks, just listening to Keenan power through that was, I think I got more enjoyment out of it than you guys did.
Well, certainly. It's one of the worst jokes.
Knowing where it was all going. Like God, seeing the past, present, and future. Thank you, Keenan.
Yeah. So Damien knows it's the Viper. Yeah. He understands, so he just walks. He keeps walking. He's like, she doesn't know this joke. She could.
So I don't want to spoil it for her.
Yeah. Right. But I also don't want to be there for the punchline.
See, folks, I try to make this nice, heartfelt, dramatic ending. He ascends up to heaven. Yeah. He goes up to the clouds. Right?
Yeah, he ain't coming back.
No. Yeah. Anyway. We got another email.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we got another email. Let's open that bad boy up. All right, this one's from John again. The title is The Bishop's Ring. Ooh, we were wondering about this ring.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so he says, lol, it's purple. Bishop's rings had amethyst in them. Cardinals have sapphires. The Pope has no stone. It's a picture of St. Peter. Yes, I remember us talking about that. And amethyst comes from the Greek for not drunk.
Huh, okay.
A is alpha privative, meaning lacking. Huh. Or amethyst.
Okay.
Oh, so like like atonal or asymmetrical, right? So amethyst.
Mm-hmm.
So methist is drunk, right?
So this is like sober. So this is it's sober or
okay.
Peaceful, spiritual. Yeah.
Okay,
cool. That makes a lot of sense.
I like that. It was believed that wearing an amethyst would keep you from. We gave him so much credit.
Uh-huh.
We gave these bishops so much credit, Keenan. But John continues. He says, it was believed that wearing an amethyst would keep you from getting drunk.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Maybe you're reading that a different way than I am. I guess, okay. I guess we could see it as like avoiding temptations. Like, nope, I'm not going to,
Yeah.
I saw it. That just explains more about me, I think. I was like, I can wear this amethyst and I can go out and party all night long. Anyway. Folks, this has been another excellent Exorcist Minute. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can reach me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Keenan Diaz. You could find me on Instagram and Letterboxd at Howdy Keenan.
Yeah, we got our listener group, Compelling Conversations. Go check that out and request to join, and we'll let you in here with us. Thank you so much to everyone who has shared the show by word of mouth or on social media, and a big thank you to everyone who has given us a 5-star ratings on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. We really appreciate that. It's going to help our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. Okay, Keenan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time, the power of doorbells compels you. If you now with today's technology, Keenan, like we can have a doorbell that makes any kind of sound. Like what kind of sound would you like?
Oh, geez, it's something nice, but that you would so you wouldn't mistake something for it, right? So
not like birds chirping or something like that, because then you just like, oh yeah, this is very nice outside, right?
Yeah, I guess it has to be alarming, like a peacock. something nice like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think you would do?
I would have the doorbell sound like a knock.
Like some people insist on having their cell phone ringer sound like a physical phone.
Yeah.
Right. So you would have a doorbell that sounds like a physical knock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I know what I would want mine to be. Mine would, someone rings the doorbell and then throughout my house, it just, a visitor, madam.
Ooh.
It's my own Carl.
I like it.
I mean, in reality, I'll do what I have done, which is to not install a doorbell. And if someone comes knocking at my door, I don't want to know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If there's somebody I know, they'll call me. Or they'll text me. I'll be like, hey, I'm right outside the door. Right? Who is this? Right. It is the Viper. I'm realizing that joke doesn't work in text.